requested to see Mr. President yesterday, and promptly he granted me audience today. I've seen him, briefed him on the security situation in Sokoto State, in particular the security situation in Sokoto Eastern Senatorial District, and of very special concern, Sabumbindi local government area of the state, where outside and apart from the previous attacks, only 2 days ago, through a banditry attack, we lost about 74 people in a very, very heinous and dastardly act of aggression from the bandits. I have briefed Mr. President on the general situation and the needs and the asks and support that we require. When I say we, in this case, I mean the security personnel that are there in Sokoto, working day and night in synergy with each other to ensure that they maintain peace and order in the state. And of course, the requirements of that of more personnel, more equipment, more resources in terms of operation, vehicles, and all of that, and the need for Mr. President's intervention in that regard, and the support for the internally displaced people who are in thousands from that area.
Any response from the President, sir?
Mr. President really gave us the assurances that he is going to immediately step into the matter and direct for restoration of peace and order in the state. He has actually done that yesterday via a statement from the Senior Special Assistant, Garba Shehu, and he affirmed that to me, and I believe that immediately actions are going to be taken. I'm not disclose those actions, but I assure you that I am satisfied with the response I got from Mr. President.
Hi there, welcome to Lunchtime Discourse here on Vanguard TV, broadcasting to you live from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Okay, today on another episode of Lunchtime Discourse, we are going to be looking at the past 5 years of President Muhammad Buhari in office. You would recall that on May 29th, that actually marked the 5th year of President Muhammadu Buhari in office, and of course a whole lot of people have been scoring the president's performance, particularly from the presidency. They've reeled out a number of achievements which they claim the president has actually achieved in the past 5 years. Of course, the main opposition in Nigeria, the People's Democratic Party have also disagreed, with all of that. So today, we are going to be giving you an explicit insight into all of that, and of course we would be looking at the area of corruption, the electioneering process, employment, the power sectors, the power sector, and then other major sectors, in Nigeria, and of course how that has affected the lives of Nigerians in general. Okay, but I'm not going to be doing that alone. We'll be doing that with a very interesting guest in the studio. He is Mr. Aliu Mohammed. Mr. Aliu Mohammed was the former editor of Concord newspaper, and of course the Daily Times newspaper. He also is a PR consultant and currently is the CEO of Magnet Communication. Mr. Lee, you're welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we, just some few days ago, President Muhammad Buhari marked her 50th year in office, and then the presidency came out and said that he has done pretty well in the area of, the power sector, education, employment, and all of that. But a lot of Nigerians seem not to be agree with those figures, and of course the number of achievements listed by the presidency. What are your thoughts on the past 5 years of Mr. President?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say that if you look at where we are coming from, the government before the Buhari administration, the profligacy that was part of that government, and what we have on ground now, I want to say that the Buhari administration has tried. I was called the administration 60%. But 60%, let us take it sectorally. In the area of power, it has improved a lot. In some parts of Abuja, you have uninterrupted. When I say uninterrupted, compared to what we used to have, in those days you have to buy diesel. I know how much I was spending on diesel. I had an inverter, I had 2 generators and all that, but these days in fact I had to change the battery of one of my generators because we didn't put it to use for a very long time. Fairly stable power supply, yes. Then in the area of but there is still a lot to be done. In the area of power. Ghana has celebrated over 20 years of stable power supply. There is need for an improvement. Once let me take an area for example. You have power failure, you have to go and beg for them to come and fix whatever is wrong with it. We still have exaggerated billings, and we still have issues with the distribution companies.
Okay. But if you are scoring President Muhammad Buhari 60%, that seems as though a pass mark,
Yes,
in
it
the
is.
power sector. But that I don't know. I do not think you are echoing the views of other Nigerians, because a lot of people are saying that there is still epileptic power supply around Nigeria. You made mention of Abuja having uninterrupted power supply. I do not know what you mean by uninterrupted, but from a literary point of view, that means you have stable power supply for
relatively stable.
Okay, so
yes.
that's to an extent
Relatively stable.
So maybe like 18 hours from 24 hours. But you would also recall that earlier this year, the House of Representatives, led by Right Honorable Gbajabiamila, was among those championing for I think a reform in the power sector, because he had said that there are a lot of quote unquote crazy bills, that a lot of Nigerians are being made to pay. If you are saying 60% in power, it's a pass mark.
Yes.
But then with the crazy bills that all the Nigerians are suffering in the rural areas where we have large chunk of Nigeria inhabiting, don't you think the president hasn't done well in that regard?
I wouldn't agree with you. You see, I don't forget that I said compared to what we used to have. In those days, we used to have 3 days of shortage of power. You won't have light at all. But now
that is still persistent
in some areas, not every area.
Well, you were talking about the GRA in Abuja and all of that.
Let me explain what I mean.
Okay.
Let me explain what I mean. You are talking about crazy bills. In my place, I have prepaid meter, right? I'm not saying that the crazy bill situation is right. I have a prepaid meter. They come to my area and cut off people's lights for non-payment. But they have never one day visited my house.
But that's because you have a prepaid meter.
Listen.
But there are well over millions of Nigerians without prepaid meters.
The point I am driving at is that I said there is still room for improvement. I said it earlier. Yes, today we have a relatively stable power supply. So many areas, like in Lagos, the rural areas don't have access to prepaid meters. They still have the problem of crazy bills to contend with. It is condemnable. If you look at the situation, I keep saying it, I don't compare Nigeria with the UK or the US. I compare them with African countries. If you go to Ghana, we still have rural areas that don't have prepaid meters.
We shouldn't even compare Ghana to Nigeria, because Ghana is just a small West African country with very minimal resources towards Nigeria.
It is a worst case scenario. It is a worst case scenario. I'm saying Ghana not because Ghana is stronger than Nigeria economically. I'm just using Ghana to compare the situation
as a neighboring country.
Yes, as a neighboring country. There are rural areas there. What they do is to overlook whatever costs of power that those people have consumed, because they consider it their fault for not providing them.
That sounds to be a responsible government.
That's the point I'm driving.
Okay, so why haven't we gotten that in the past 5 years? Because a lot of for instance, where I live, we have a number of people that have been disconnected from their power source, and that's owing to the fact that they are owing a very handsome amount of money. And when we try to investigate, we discover that these people were being billed as a result of the fact that they claim they've been using power for so long and all of that. And this same issue boils down to the issue of the crazy bill. And that is exactly what they are contending. If 5 years into President Buhari's administration, we haven't gotten this right, the next 3 years, don't you think we'll still remain in the same place?
I don't think so. You can't put this problem on Buhari's head. Buhari is just a human being. He's the president. He's the president. But you have people. Let's pick it from the.
He's the president. He was the one who appointed the Minister of State for power.
Let us pick it from your point of view about your area. Most of these people that do crazy bills, they are doing deals. They are not legitimate NEPA staff. They have contract staff in all these distribution companies. They have contract staffs. They have all sorts of staff there.
That goes about the disconnection.
A lot of them have been caught.
But that shouldn't be the fault of Nigerians. Nigerians
I'm not saying that it is the fault of Nigerians.
Yes, they are making Nigerians
the problem we have here is general, and it is impunity. Everybody is looking for money one way or the other. And you see people going out to commit all sorts of atrocities, but they are never punished for committing all these crimes. Okay. And at the end of the day, it is put directly on the head of the government.
Let us before we move on to other sectors, but let me quickly take a nugget here. You would also recall, I don't know if you actually followed some of the manifestos of Mr. President when he contested in 2015. He rode to power based on all of this. He said that we would deliver 20,000 megawatts of electricity in 4 years. That was what the president said. And in contrast, the Minister of Information, Mr. Mohammed, came out some few days back and said that in 2023, Nigerians are going to enjoy 11,000 megawatts of power supply. Don't you think that is a failure?
I wouldn't say it's a failure, because you see, you need to be in government.
But you
you need to be in government to know what they go through. We have a click generator importers that will ensure that the target of government in that regard is not achieved. No, I'm serious. But again, like I said, we come back to impunity. Why will the government deal with the click? Why will the government allow them to sabotage their efforts?
That should be the question.
You understand?
Yes.
The truth of the matter is that when this government came in, they set about achieving that with Fashola. Don't forget that Fashola was the Minister of Power, he was the Minister of Housing, he was the Minister of Works. The young man was overwhelmed with a lot of responsibilities. It was a mistake to have made one man the Minister of Power, the Minister of Housing, the Minister of Works. That was a mistake that affected the plans of government. I think they realized that and split the ministry.
So for 4 years, they allowed, for 4 good years, they allowed the mistake, to stay and fester, and then affect Nigerians, and of course the performance of the government. Because you are saying that was a mistake,
yes,
part of the government.
Don't forget that I didn't give this
4 years.
government.
Doesn't mean we do not have people that are thinking
100% pass mark. I gave 60%.
60 is a pass mark.
But they still have 3 years.
3 years,
3 years.
5 years
But
into the administration, and we cannot account for 10,000 megawatts of power supply. The same Fashola sir that you said, when he was the governor of Lagos State, he said that any government that cannot deliver power supply to the people is a failed government.
Those are political statements.
Okay, so they are playing politics with the welfare of Nigerians.
Let us be realistic. We are in Nigeria. If a politician wakes you up to say, to ask you the time, if you ask him the time and he says it is 7 a.m., you have to be sure that it is truly 7 a.m. So that is the way we practice politics in Nigeria. And to me, it has become an acceptable norm. So you either comply or I don't know. But the truth of the matter is that the masses, I agree with you, the masses are bearing the brunt of their non-performance.
That's very unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but I still insist that compared to what we used to have, power supply has improved. There is room for improvement, a better improvement, and a better performance in that area. Like in some countries, if you fly into Port Harcourt, right, you see gas being flared all over the place. You see big lights, and they say it is gas flaring. I think we should harness that resources and convert gas to power. But we are not doing enough in that area.
That's another failure on the part of the government.
Yes, I'm just telling you that, I'm admitting it.
And you hope that in the next 3 years they are going to correct all this anomaly.
Listen,
because you said that they still have 3 years.
NLNG, Nigerian liquefied natural gas, whatever now, they are working on harnessing our gas resources and channeling it into power. But I don't know how soon that will be done. I read something about that a couple of times, but it will be a great thing. I know of a university in Ogun State that is not on the national grid, Babcock. They use their internally
Even
generated power.
loot is not on the national grid.
So we should encourage such a thing. Like when Tinubu was...
What I am looking is, if you say Babcock, and then I cited the example of loot also, why can't government replicate whatever is done, in such area? You can take a kind of study, you can do a study on what they have done and then replicate it in other communities. If you don't want to do it in, a kind of large proportion, you can start off with communities, some areas and all that. What exactly is it that we are not getting right, as a people and especially as a government?
You see, I agree with what you have said, but we have situations that are created by the same people you want to serve. They want to construct some roads on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to widen the express now. Some people went to court. In some parts of Lagos, they wanted to construct roads. They said, no, you can't destroy my house. In Ogun State, the same thing. So I think whatever we want to do in that regard, we must have some enabling acts that will take care of the interest of the people that are likely to suffer from whatever you are going to do.
Okay, Mr. Ali, just hold your thoughts a moment. We'll get back to you, and then we'll be looking at other sectors that President Muhammad Buhari has thus performed so far. Well, if you are just joining us at this lunchtime discussion on Vanguard TV, broadcasting to you live from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Of course, we've been discussing with Mr. Aliu Mohammed, who was the former editor of the Concord newspaper, and of course the Daily Times, and of course the current CEO of Magnet Communication. He has been providing us an explicit insight into the past 5 years of President Muhammad Buhari's administration. We'll go on a short break, but before then, do not forget to share and like what you are seeing, so that others too can be part of it, and of course learn one or two things from what we are currently discussing. We'll be back in a moment.
We will keep your boss with us. Corona may last 1 year or 2 years. We don't know. We don't pray for it. We pray it may even last and end tomorrow. But your boss will be with us as long as Corona exists.
Officer.
That is what the judge.
I'm guilty, sir.
You are what?
I'm guilty, sir.
You are guilty.
Yes, sir.
So what do you want to do?
I'm staying in Kaduna. That is my problem. I only want to find.
Yesterday we turned you to Kaduna, and you live where you are staying, and you entered Kogi State, and you load passenger again, and you are going back today. So, Mr. Adejo,
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. This is the last time. Because I'm going back. I'm staying in Kaduna. I'm going back.
this is the last time.
Yes, sir.
You will not do it again.
At all.
Well, I think I will leave you and the judge. We are enforcement officer. We enforce the law, sir, and we enforce judgment.
The vehicle is already impounded.
So the vehicle is already impounded. The judge have
He
ruled.
was given 10,000 naira fine.
Fine today. Okay, double.
Then yes, and then the vehicle is impounded till the COVID.
That means we'll find a way to return this one's back. $18 in the vehicle.
Yes,
18 in a vehicle. Even without COVID-19, it's already overloaded. With COVID-19, it's extremely overloaded. That's the truth. It's overload. Extremely overload. This one's here.
They are the Dangote. They are from Kano.
Okay.
The one
from Boa Cement.
Yes. They say they are traveling to Lokoja and Edo states.
Lokoja and Edo Mila.
Yes, they are 20.
The trailer don't leave una.
21 passengers.
Are you supposed to go to Ibadan?
My dad is strong. He did for us.
Your daddy is strong. You can't carry passenger at top arm. If not only you go with your car, they can say your daddy is strong. But because you say your father is strong, meaning that he's sick, you now load Ibadan passenger and you are going because daddy is strong. You're not supposed to carry passengers and travel. How can you load a bus and you're going to Ibadan? Shikiru.
That's why we are carrying 2 passengers.
Shikuru, even if now only you they cross the border, it's not good. Now you not carried our auntie here, carry everybody here, they go Ibadan. Shikuru is not good.
Okay, welcome back to the show. It is still lunchtime discourse here on Vanguard Television, and of course we've been examining the past 5 years of President Muhammad Buhari's administration, and I've been doing that with Mr. Aliu Mohammed, the CEO of Magnet Communications, and of course a PR consultant. Mr. Aliu, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to be looking at other sectors of the economy. Let's quickly go straight to education now. Prior to the lockdown, ASU was talking about strike and all of that. In fact, I was made to understand just a few weeks back that they were actually on strike during the lockdown.
Yes.
What is the way forward? 5 years, and you think President Muhammadu Buhari hasn't gotten, a real solution into all of this? Because I could remember when I was in school that, I spent a number of days, in fact months at home, owing to strike action.
Yes.
Should this be, or should this always be the case? When are we going to have an end to all of this?
It is not right for students to stay at home for any reason while the school sessions are supposed to be on. In the education sector, I want to say that they need to improve. They really need to improve, because in other environments, the budget for education is usually very high, but here it is low. If you go to if you have a child in the university now, you have to pay through your nose for them to get good education. And that is why we have these private universities that are making people to pay millions per semester, because the government universities are not doing well.
But some have said that the IPPIS is the way to go, that's going to check corruption in the education sector, and then, help with accountability and all of that. What do you have to say on IPPS?
I really don't think so. You see, the problem with our education system is part of the problem that we have in our society. The lecturers are not well paid, and as a result, you see them cutting corners, selling handouts, doing all sorts of businesses, while at the same time they are engaged to teach our children. An average worker that is not comfortable, you can't get the best from him. That is the truth of the matter. We must start from ensuring that our lecturers, our teachers are comfortable, because a disturbed mind cannot impart any knowledge into anybody. He will want to sort himself out first. When we were in the university, we used to have what they call luncheon vouchers. I don't think that exists anymore.
No.
10 kobo, 5 kobo,
That were the good old days.
Good old days. What happened to it? But we still have that system in some African countries, like the South African universities. You see a lot of people, a lot of parents taking their children to the nearest university here, Benin Republic. We have Nigerians that have established universities in nearby countries. So we must take proactive steps to ensure that we have a very strong budget for education. Not only the infrastructure, the lecturers, the teachers must be adequately taken care of. In those days, they would say that a teacher's reward is in heaven. For God's sake, let them enjoy it in this world before they go to heaven. You know, if you can give senators and House of Representative members
huge package,
I don't see anything that stops the government from ensuring. I'm not saying they should be at par with those people because they are politicians. Their presence in those places are tenure-based, but a lecturer is supposed to be there until he's 60. It's a professional thing. So professionally enhance their status and have decent buildings, then make things comfortable for the students that you are expected in the schools, and we have sound system.
I want you to score this administration on the education sector performance so far.
Education, maybe 40, 50.
Okay, I think Nigerians would want to agree
40,
with that,
50,
especially some of our
40,
students.
We have not done well in that area. I mean, we all know what I'm talking about. You still have cultism
in
schools, even in secondary school now. I don't want to mention names. I was around somewhere on the island, and they had to send policemen.
But when you talk about cultism in school, don't you think we should be looking at providing adequate security for some of this university? Unlike the case of Vera, the girl that was raped, and killed in the process. You think it's high time, government looked at providing adequate security, for schools?
Yes, I agree with you. But beyond the provision of security, I think we have a problem with our morals. Something has gone wrong with our morals. And all these things begins from our respective homes. Does an average parent know what the children are doing? In those days, my father want to see. He monitors your progress in the school. There is nothing like that anymore. You have young girls, young boys that have turned to the ones fending for their homes. A young girl will go out, come back home with a car, and nobody will ask questions. We must go back to the roads. We must go back. When I bought my first car, I just got into Concord. My father came to Lagos and asked me, where did you get money? There is nothing like that anymore. Let parents ask questions. Let them have time for their children. Let them create time to know what their children are doing. I read the story of children of the same mother, a boy and a girl, that were sleeping with themselves in the same house. Why? Because both the father and the mother would have left the house at 5 a.m. And the children are now at the mercy of the housekeeper, who also would have slept off after giving them food. The parents will get home tired at night. They won't even have the time, create time to look at the progress of their children in school. So there is a lot of issues attached to this. All these problems of delinquencies and all that we experience in the society come from lack of adequate attention by the parents for their children.
But a lot of older persons have, tried to hinge all of this on, bad leadership. Can we?
No.
Really?
Yes, bad leadership. But what are the parents doing? Leadership is not one way. There is leadership, there is followership.
Of course.
The leadership is what the followership wants it to be.
So the first point of contact of these children are the parents.
The parents.
So they should be playing.
So sit down as a parent and do you have time for your children?
I think we are going to invite you on the show, maybe sometime next week.
Do you have the
that
time for your children?
We are going to talk more on all of this, but let's quickly move on to other burning issues that Nigerians have been talking about in the past few weeks, and that's the electioneering process in Nigeria. Okay, earlier this year, we had about 2 Supreme Court judgments, that affected a gubernatorial election, where people had voted for the choice of their candidate, and then the Supreme Court is coming, declaring other candidates to reverse, the people's mandate, quote unquote, the people's mandate. And because of all of that, people have said that this current administration has done so badly in the area of electioneering process, and there are fears palpable everywhere that might be the status quo, that might actually come to stay eventually. What do you think? What do you make of all of this?
You see, the political space is terribly corrupt. I must say that. And like I keep saying, the problem we have in the political arena is impunity. If you trace the cause of what led to the reversal of those election results by the Supreme Court, if you trace the source, you trace it back to the parties. Somebody submitted a CV, submitted fake certificates. At the party level, what happened? The party is supposed to screen all those documents and be bold enough to face whoever presented such credentials that, look, you have presented fake credentials. So if that had been checked at the party level, it won't get to the Supreme Court.
So you're saying that there is internal politics,
not internal, indiscipline. Indiscipline. Impunity breeds indiscipline. It breeds all sorts of evil. Probably the candidate has the support of
someone
above, a godfather, who said, okay, let's just push him and nothing will happen.
Let's quickly examine the current situation in Edo State right now. A lot of political pundits are saying that the situation there might actually slide into anarchy, and a state where it will eventually help the PDP assume power, and then APC losing that set. What do you have to say in all of this? Do you think we might be experiencing another Supreme Court judgment in the future?
You can, in the case of Edo State, it may not even get to the Supreme Court. There may not be an election in Edo State from the way they are going.
Big. How do you say that?
And let me tell you, for the leaders, the party leaders in Edo State, they must come together to resolve this issue. Who are those involved? Adams Oshomole or Baseki. Those are the 2 main characters. Right? And from the look of things, it might degenerate to an uncontrollable level. You brought Ize Yamu to come and contest.
A former PDP candidate.
A former PDP candidate. That's what was widely touted as a thief, a non-performer, by the same person that brought him, the same person that sponsored him now, some 5 or 6 years ago, told us that Yamu is a thief, and the person to be the governor is Obaseki.
That could be a political statement.
Well, you are using my own statement against me.
Well, that was what you said. That could be a political statement.
It could be a political statement, and that is why I am saying that we must be factual in all we are doing. The truth of the matter is that godfatherism seems to be the order of the day in Nigerian politics, and it is obviously leading us nowhere. So you cannot continue to be the godfather of everybody that is in power. People must have their individual minds. I'm going into politics, I want to go there to serve. But what we have at the moment are people protecting their personal interests, not the interest of the people.
So
The problem in Edo State, if not carefully handled, will degenerate to a major crisis, a total breakdown of law and order. And when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. It is the masses whose interests are not being protected here. They are the ones that will suffer. Don't forget that most of these politicians don't have their children in Nigeria. Their children are abroad. They engage the most vulnerable boys to fight their cases, give them guns, and that is why we have continued to have the proliferation of arms and ammunition in Nigeria. Politicians will arm youths when election is approaching. After the election, those people won't be disarmed. The guns will continue to circulate and the rate of robbery will go up. I'm surprised that you go into the remotest villages, you see young men carrying AK-47.
Do you have evidence for all? I mean, to all of this, you just said politicians arming youth and all of that. That's in the media space. How do you know?
That is how
politicians will tell you that they are not arming anybody.
Do you expect them to admit? But we have.
Are there facts? Are there evidences for?
There are facts. That how did Boko Haram boys? How did they get the first set of arms and ammunition that they had? It is on the media space that somebody armed them. I don't want to mention his name.
But he has come out to dismiss the allegation.
Do you want him to own up?
That's why
somebody has done something right. You don't just act. This is why I'm saying we have a problem of impunity in Nigeria. If you know that somebody has harmed youths because he was going to contest election, and after election those youths were not disarmed, and you have facts that he truly harmed them, take him to court, try him and jail him. Nobody will do that again. But for as long as we don't punish offenses severely in Nigeria, you can't have a true electoral process, because everybody involved in politics have billions of naira, billions of dollars to fight elections, and that is why people don't want to get out of government. When they get there, they steal as much as they can steal, because they are looking forward to contesting a second term by hook or crook. So we must begin to punish offenses and don't just give offenders handshakes. Impunity can bring down a whole country. What they are trying here, have you ever seen an electoral process in the UK? People go to work, they don't declare holidays. When you are coming back from work, you just go there, cast your vote. You can even vote online. But they don't shut down the economy.
The assumption is that we are not ripe for that. But let's leave that. We'll get back. We'll get to that some other time. Okay, you are a journalist. With years, decades of experience. I've read some of your work, which is very, very interesting. Okay, tell us, what do you think? What role do you think the media needs to play in all of this that the media has not done? For instance, you made mention of someone being accused of sponsoring Boko Haram terrorists and all of that. Like you said, it was in the media space, and all of a sudden we do not hear anything about the issue again. Some have accused the media of not following up major issues that are of interest to the people. What do you think the media is not doing right?
Well, the media is doing a lot. I belong to the media. The media is doing a lot there, but there are so many encumbrances in the practice of our profession. An average newspaper organization that want to follow any matter to the letter will be branded an opposition to the government. I have seen that. You have seen a lot of journalists arrested and detained for exposing corruption in Cross River. Agbajalingo was just freed by the court, and so many other cases. So the media is trying its best under a very stringent condition. You have a lot of journalists are not paid. the media industry is distressed, it is deliberate. Abroad, government gives some kind of soft landing to the media. But we've had a distress in the media now for almost 8 years or 10 years.
Okay.
And the government is not doing anything. So, given that situation, what do you want the media to do? The media has gone as far as digging out stories on the man that started the Boko Haram. What has the government done
about it? Like you said, operating in a stringent, condition. Let me quickly ask you, how would you rate, the relationship between the media and President Muhammad Buhari, given the fact that he had a pretty bad antecedent, with the media in as a military head of state. There were fears that we might actually have a repeat of such scenario right now.
It is not possible. Then he was a military head of state. They ruled by decrees. Decree 4 that Jail Tunde Thompson and Nduka Irabo, my senior colleagues, we are in a democratic setup.
But do you think the media is free under President Muhammad Buhari?
Relatively free, but not totally free.
Okay, because of the likes of Agbaja Lingo, Dadiyata, and some other journalists.
Relatively free, because you see, the dictates of the practice of journalism states that you must be objective, you must be fair, you must not be partisan.
True.
But these days, you have politicians setting up media organizations. They are the ones that have money to set up newspapers, radio, television stations, and all that. And what most of the stations do is for them to play to the tunes of their owners. You cannot divulge media organizations from that kind of practice. Because number one, you have to protect your source of livelihood. But it takes a lot of courage. We tried to do it when we were with Concord. Abiola gave us, Bashorun Abiola, who owned the Concord Press of Nigeria Limited, gave us a free hand to practice our profession. At a point, the government came in and said we were stepping on toes. And in 1996, we were shut down and forced to apologize over a story published by African Concord. So, if you have such a jackboot government, you have that kind of situation. But we are in a democratic setup. So, we have politicians setting up, I don't want to mention names again, we have politicians setting up newspaper organizations, radio and television stations, and all that. So, by way of compliance, you want to play to the tune of your owners. And this offends the government. If your owner is in the opposition party, the government will take you as an enemy. But if you are in support of the government, then you have very little problems. So, professionally, we must be strict as journalists. But again, it is difficult to be strict, except you are ready to take a risk.
Difficult because of the environment.
The environment, yes. The owner dictates the tune. If your chairman, we used to have a publisher here in Nigeria, although his paper is gone under now, he will come back and tell the editor that this is your front page. And the editor cannot say no. You dare not look at him in the face and say, publisher, no. Political stories, he will bring it and say, this is your front page tomorrow. He has taken something from somewhere and he's saying, this is your front page. You can't oppose him. So there are
many factors.
So many factors that is obstructing the true practice of journalism in Nigeria.
That's very unfortunate. Okay, let's leave. Let us leave it as that, and let's move on to the final question for you today, and that's on corruption. Well, I don't want to ask how far the president has been, doing in terms of corruption. But then the PDP, just a few days back came out and said that the president is trying to auction, Nigeria in the international markets because of the $5.5 billion loan request, by the president from the Senate, from the National Assembly. Also yesterday, from a program monitored on Channels TV, the vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the last election, that's Mr. Peter Obi, he was talking with Channels TV, and he said that when you borrow, for consumption, that is worst form of corruption. Past 5 years of President Muhammad Buhari, do you think he has done well fighting corruption? Going, with what we can see, going on at the moment.
Thank you. When Buhari came in as president in 2015, he came with this reputation of a disciplined and incorruptible leader, and he tried to impart that into his administration, with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission taking up a lot of investigation of past fraudulent cases, with the former chief of staff then arrested, and so many people were arrested for stealing government money. But unfortunately, most of those cases have not been successfully prosecuted, except one or two.
Couldn't that be owing to the justice system we have in Nigeria?
No, you see, an average big man that the government has arrested for stealing believes that one way or the other he will get out of it. It goes back to impunity. For as long, I have a friend whose son committed a crime in the UK. He's in jail now.
In the UK?
Yes, he's a big man in Nigeria. If his son had committed that crime in Nigeria, nobody would have arrested him. But here in Nigeria, we pamper criminals. Some of the people that have been jailed now believe that they could never be jailed. That's why they will go for senior advocates of Nigeria.
About 12 of them.
Pay them billions.
About 12 of
and surprisingly, a few of them have been jailed. That I see as a positive achievement for Buhari.
Yeah, indeed.
Buhari is one person that believes that corruption must be eradicated, but so many people around him don't share that belief with him.
But that's why
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's why a lot of Nigerians was very surprised that some of the people that were given the ministerial portfolios were past governors with quote and unquote corruption, yes, integrity, and then
that is what I'm saying.
That was what
if you are an anti-corruption person, you must ensure that the people that you are going to work with don't have terrible criminal records. But a lot of criminals are part of this government. I don't know if they were forced on the president, but those who go to Equity, they say, must come with clean hands.
Clean hands.
I can't see clean hands here. Some people, I don't want to mention names, had corruption cases. They are the lawyer that tried them, and that character are together in the same ministry today. Only for the lawyer to come out recently that he was not the one that tried this man.
That's a very funny situation.
But I expect that the president should have done better getting technocrats, professionals, not much of politicians, into this government. If he had done that, the anti-corruption war would have gone further than it is now. I give kudos to him for the few judgments that has jailed a few politicians, but it could have been better. It could have been better. Because you see, let me tell you, my brother, we keep talking about indiscipline. What leads to indiscipline? Greed. I want 10 billion. What do you want to do with 10 billion? What does a man need 10 billion for? The flight, the double cabin A380, the flight from here, that is double cabin, that can take you from Nigeria to the US, will not cost you 10 million naira. So why do you need billions? So it goes back to the problem of impunity. We must punish serious crimes. We must, I don't know how we want to do it. If you know that somebody has committed an offense, pursue that case to a reasonable level that will send messages to anybody that might want to commit the same offense tomorrow. But we don't punish offenses here. So next day somebody will come out and commit the same offense, even still bigger amounts of money. If you don't punish crimes, you are encouraging indiscipline. You are encouraging indiscipline, for God's sake. Let me cite an instance. When we had the military government, in places like Koshodi, if you wanted sanity to reign, put 2 soldiers on standby there. You see people falling in line. They behave well. Do you need soldiers to behave well? It borders on upbringing, personal self-discipline.
Yes.
The same people, when you see them abroad, the same people that rushes here, when you see them abroad, they comply because they know that there is no shortcut for them there. Once you are arrested, you are going to jail. You can't drive one way in the US. They will have your brain checked before they jail you. But here you see bullion vans. One almost ran into me yesterday from Sheraton. You know there is a corner there.
Yes.
They took one way. They were coming on my lane. As I just turned, I ran into them. And I saw policemen carrying guns. That is wrong.
They were supposed to enforce the law, and
they are the ones breaking it. But you can't see that happening abroad. All of them will be punished, but it is part of the impunity that we are talking about.
Very, very sad. Very, very sad one indeed. Okay, we've been discussing with Mr. Aliu Mohammed, that's the former editor of the Concord newspaper, and of course, Daily Times newspaper. Currently the CEO of Magnet Communications, and of course the PRO consultant, and he has been giving us a very, very good explicit insight into all of the issues raised concerning the past 5 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. Mr. Aliu, thanks for coming to the show. We hope to have you again, anytime soon. Okay, that is all we have for you today on Lunchtime Discourse. And do not forget to like and share what you are seeing so that other people too can see. Do not forget also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Vanguard NGR TV. There you find other interesting videos and of course news stories to see. My name remains Bankole Idowu Emmanuel.